Hello, hello, and welcome back to the On the Reel with Andrew podcast, where me and my revolving group of friends discuss any and everything in the world of film and TV. I'm your host, Andrew Washington, and joining me today, again for the fourth time now, but the third Sundance episode, Piper. Hello.
Hello. So good to be back. It's been way too long.
I know
It's been a year.
It's been, I think, since Sundance last year that you were on. But I love that you're the Sundance special guest. I feel like that's
And Joker too.
that and Joker too. That is very true. But yes, you heard correctly. This is the Sundance episode. The Sundance Film Festival just ended. I believe today was the last day officially. I unfortunately was not able to attend in person this year for the first time since I've started going, unfortunately. But Piper was there this year in person. Can you tell me just a little bit about what the experience was like? Because this was the last year in Park City for the festival. This was a big moment.
Yeah, I feel like it was very bittersweet. I mean, they had, the same amount of activations and stuff. I wish they'd elevated it a little bit more in terms of like a celebration of Park City, but also didn't feel like they were like on to the next. It felt more like they just weren't acknowledging it. There was a special tribute to Robert Redford before all of the movies, which was nice. The only big difference this year was just that it was so packed. Like, I talked to this woman in line who was like, I flew out and I haven't been able to get any tickets. And so this is my one ticket. And I'm like, that's crazy. So, like, everything was so expensive, so packed. Like, places we used to walk into to get like food and drinks were like a 20-minute wait at least. Yeah, but I'm really glad that I went and got to say goodbye to Park City. I was in this screening at the Eccles and it was packed, and I was like, I don't even really care about the last living pickpocket and the only living pickpocket in New York. Yes. Like, why is everyone here? And then he enters in, he's like, this is bittersweet. This is our last premiere in the Eccles. After that, they used the Eccles as like a normal theater, which I feel like they don't normally do. So
it's the high school auditorium in Park City.
Yes. And so I feel like after they do all the like first screening big premieres, they're like, okay, the kids can have it back. But like this year they did use it for like second and third screenings, and it was still sold out. Like, I saw Bedford Park there, and it was still super sold out. But it was very cool to be at the last ever Eccles premiere.
That you told me about that. That sounds like crazy. I had such bad FOMO this year. Like, I get FOMO so bad, audience. And so it was the worst it's ever been was these last 10 days, just like seeing all the letterbox logs and like hearing just about everything and all over Twitter. Oh my God, I'm never not going again. I will make sure I'm there at all costs next year in Boulder.
I can't wait. Yeah, you texted me and were like, I'm stalking your location to live vicariously through you. I was like, yeah, no, so true.
I think when I texted you that you were at the Fresh Market, I was like, oh, she's like grocery shopping, either grocery shopping or waiting in line for a screening at the Ray. It was like one of the two.
Like trying not to be cold, probably.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. But anyway, regardless of my presence not being there in Park City, I was still able to watch some films through their online portal that they've been doing ever since COVID started. And so we're here today to talk about some of those movies. Piper saw, how many movies did you see in total? Get ready for this number, people.
Okay, so in total, as of when we're recording this, I've seen 28 films. I think
Jesus.
I think 8 of those were online, like 20 in person, and then I still have 3 more online screeners.
Oh my goodness.
I will finish after this.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, Piper's a movie maxer. We unfortunately won't have time to go through all 28 of the features that Piper saw, but we will be able to get through at least all the features that we both have seen, and some of our favorites, some of your favorites, and also a film that neither of us saw at Sundance but premiered at Sundance. And so I'm gonna kind of rope it into this as the Sundance episode and say that it counts.
What could that be?
I don't know, but let's just say all the 365 Party Girls. Y'all might wanna stay tuned. You might want to stay tuned if you're waiting to bump that at the end. But Piper, I wanted to ask you, let's start with like the best of the best. What were if you had to pick one, or I think you said you had two, your like favorite, like best of the fest films. Like what was the category? Give me all of it.
Yeah, certainly. Let's start high. So this year I was really drawn to the midnight category, and I think this was the first year that I truly saw them all at like 11:55
Mm-hmm.
screenings. So my favorite film was called Leviticus. You may have heard of it because it was like the first major sale from the festival. Neon acquired it, which I think is an amazing choice. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely like the together of this festival. So it's from Australia. It's has the same, not lead actor as Talk to Me, but like the boy who's in Talk to Me. He's the main character in Leviticus. And it centers around him like moving to a small conservative town. A lot of the boys there are gay as it happens. And there's like a conversion therapy guy that gets brought in to perform like rituals on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they think it's harmless, but then they start, like, once the ritual's been done on them, they start seeing the person that they like are most attracted to, so probably the person they've been hooking up with, just like normally. And then if they allow themselves to get seduced by that person, then it like attacks, so it's like a
Mm,
fake doppelganger.
okay.
And what's cool is that how it's presented is that you don't see that until we're sutured into the main character's perspective. So Joe Bird from Talk to Me plays the main character. So
Mm-hmm.
until he is affected by this, like you just kind of see them getting attacked, but you don't know by what until it starts happening to him, which I thought was really well done. And so it does a really good job throughout the film of just building suspense. Like you don't know if he's talking to his real love interest, his fake love interest. And I just thought that the aspect of like it being framed as hate crimes really stuck with me because like he kept, in a horror movie, they're like, something bad's happening. And instead of being like, no, you're wrong, they're like, yeah, it is. It's hate. Isn't that so bad that like you
Mm-hmm.
young queer teens have to face hate crimes? I'm still thinking about it. I've been yearning to rewatch this movie. I've been like, I cannot wait for this to come out. Neon, drop it soon. I'm begging you. Can't wait to talk about it more.
No, yeah, it gave, I saw the TV glow to me, just for based off of like the description that I got. I based off of what you're saying, it doesn't sound exactly like that, but in the queer horror realm, that just sounds very interesting to me. But okay, shout out to Leviticus, and then you said you had one more.
Yeah, so Z, which is by
Kogonada, yeah.
Kogonada. So it's his newest film, and the only other film I've seen of his is A Big Bold Beautiful Journey. Like I was in line waiting, and people were like, "Oh, I can't wait to see his new film." And I was like, "His follow-up to A Big Bold Beautiful Journey? Really?" Like I just got the ticket cuz my friends were excited. It was at the
Mhm.
same time as the premiere of The Gallerist, and I
Okay.
was sad I wasn't at that. I get in. It was amazing. It was in the next category. It
Mhm.
was very experimental. Sundance had an issue this year with log lines being like not really what it's about. So I think
Mhm.
they were like, "Oh, she sees someone important to her." Like,
Mhm.
what? I can sum it up better. It's that she essentially is having these intense deja vu moments. So she's walking past places and being like, "I will be here in the future." And then she meets, so she has a vision of herself at the end of her life with this woman. She ends up meeting that woman played by Haley Lou Richardson,
Mhm.
and they spend the whole night together trying to, and there's kind of a sci-fi element where they're like, what's wrong with her? She processes time differently.
Mhm.
But it's a beautiful moment of her realizing that she doesn't want to be alone, and then
Mhm.
kind of falling in love with life as well as Haley Lou Richardson's character. It was great. It was tender, intimate, very queer as well, which was a surprise to me.
Mm.
So, yeah, I loved it. Sundance was very queer this year in a good way because I feel like
Period.
sometimes we've gone and it's been kind of like, this is a
Yeah.
little offensive to me. But this year I felt really empowered.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
real.
I came back and I was like, I'm ready to kiss girls. This is great. Thank you,
Oh my
Sundance.
goodness. Yeah, no. That was one that I saw was available online, but it was one
It
of the
was
few
sold
that like
out.
sold out like really early.
Like
So
before the festival,
yeah,
because
no.
yeah, I was talking through it with people and they were like, yeah, you didn't see Z and Josephine sold out immediately. And I was like, oh, sorry. I'm not on it. I'm never on it with the online ones, but that's
Right,
okay.
right. It's fine. It's okay. I mean, you still saw 20 other movies in person. I want to chime in here with my favorite movie of the festival, which I don't think you saw. It's somehow you avoided Soul Patrol. This was one of the few. I limited myself to purchasing five online screeners because they're like $40 a piece.
And you ended up with 4
And I
movies.
ended up with 4 movies, which we'll get to after this movie. But I of the 5 movies that I narrowed down the entire program to, this was like the first one that I made a decision about. Like I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie because I always try to like my focus is usually on like the Black films and the queer films at Sundance. When I go in person, and then also like whatever like the hot tickets are, I think everybody tries to like go for those, but particularly Black documentaries at this festival have always been like some of my favorites that I've experienced. Like Questlove's both of his documentaries that have premiered there have been 2 of like the best films I've ever seen at that festival. And so when I like read about this feature, this documentary, like, about a group of Black Vietnam soldiers that were like the only all Black, they're called LARPs, which are basically the groups of soldiers that like went into the jungle to like kill people in the Vietnam War. And they were the only all Black group of them, and they were like I think maybe 13 or 15 something, I think, in the war. And then but this kind of reunites all of them as they're in their quote unquote final reunion. One of them wrote a book about their experience, and so the documentary is kind of based on that book. And it's a bit novelistic at times. A lot of the narration you can tell is like kind of direct pull quotes from the book because it has a very kind of flowery sense of the way that it's written. But where I think the movie shines are, well, for 2 reasons. One, there's a note at the beginning of the film that says all the archival footage is like Super 8 footage that they shot like themselves when they were like on their base and at their camp and whatever. And so it's either them or other soldiers, but it's all like Super 8 footage that was shot by soldiers in Vietnam. And so that I think adds a very realistic element to it. But also the scenes of these men at this reunion dinner, kind of 50 plus years later, just like reconciling with all of this shit that's been just stuffed down for so long. And also like this kind of being them saying in the documentary, and also I watched like the film team Q&A after this, saying this is kind of the first time that a lot of them were like able to like open up like this, and also like the first time they were able to trust somebody enough to tell this story too that wasn't just one of them. It was just very inspiring and very emotional. There are these reenactment scenes which I felt a little odd about kind of throughout, but by the end of the film they tie together in a very emotional way. And just also the reality of like these are men whose like childhoods were basically like taken away from them because of the trauma that they experienced through like this war that they didn't have to fight. And so they all like kind of joined for various reasons, but there's also, they talk a lot about the push and pull between like the feeling at home of at least like other Black people at home about the war, and then also like why their own personal convictions for going, and some of them felt like they were kind of forced into it because like their father, some were like trying to escape the law, some were like they didn't want to go to college, but then it was they're teenagers, so it's like it's ultimately misguided in a lot of ways. Very interesting topic to explore. I also, right before this, like a day or 2 before this, had watched a movie called Dead Presidents. I don't know if you've heard of this, by the Hughes brothers that did Menace to Society. It's from 1995. It is about a Black soldier who was in Vietnam and was in one of these groups that then comes back and like has to deal with, being a veteran in America that doesn't like them, and just exists in very interesting conversation, I think, with that film. And also like Spike Lee's The Five Bloods, and just films about Black soldiers in Vietnam, I think are very ripe for just discussion. But that's just so broad. There's so much like emotion behind every kind of line delivery that like all of them have. And I was in tears at the end, and I've never been one to like be emotional about stories about war. So I was almost unexpectedly moved by this. And also I think the directorial debut of J.M. Harper, who he's an editor, I think, by trade usually. But yeah, so that was my favorite film that I watched at the festival. I'm glad that I spent the $40 on that. The movie that I spent $80 on accidentally is what we were talking about. I bought 5 tickets and got 4 movies. Josephine. Josephine is the film that won the grand jury prize for the U.S. dramatic category and the U.S. dramatic category's audience award. When I purchased my tickets, I was like, oh, the way that I'll, make sure that I see enough of the dramatic category, I'll purchase tickets for the dramatic winner and the audience winner, before they announce what they are. And, so I'll make sure I'll at least see the 2 that at least were at least voted by the audience and by the jury. And they ended up being the same movie. And there was no way for me to, get a different ticket. It's what it is. But at least Josephine was really good. What are your thoughts on Josephine?
Yeah, Josephine really stunned me. If we're allowed to talk about slight details of the movie.
Yeah, just not
First 5
too
minutes.
specific. I mean, yeah, just not in too many specifics. Yeah.
I was a little shocked by the graphic rape scene. I was watching it with a friend and we were just we were stunned by it, but I mean, obviously it was really powerfully done.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the lead performances were absolutely incredible. I love Channing Tatum, and I love just how much he's venturing into the indie world. Even with Roofman, I loved Roofman. I love Josephine. Blink Twice, I think even kind of counts. I just hope that he keeps
more than
doing
Roofman.
this.
I would say
Roofman has maybe 3 to 4 minutes of production logo credits in front of it.
But it's a Paramount release, though.
Distribution.
I mean, yeah. Okay.
But okay. Anyways, all that to say, I want to see more of him. I love when he's not doing Marvel or Magic Mike. I love Magic Mike. But
I know I'm about to be I'm no shade. Nah,
not too much on Magic Mike. But need to see more of him. Need to see more of Gemma Chan.
From
need to see more of
Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah. Need to see more of Gemma Chan from Eternals.
And Eternals. But I
and Captain Marvel.
She was in Captain Marvel?
She plays 2 different characters in the MCU. Did you know that?
Is she one of the Skrulls?
Yep.
Oh. I've seen Captain Marvel, but I one time. So I
liked
didn't
it when
remember
it came
that,
out.
but
I mean, I don't hate women, so there's maybe that.
I liked it too. I think on my website, I remember writing a review for it, but I think I gave it 3.5 stars.
Everyone go check that out.
Yeah.
All that to say, I would like to see more of her too. I'm why do I know her from Marvel?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know her from Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay, I've seen that once. Sorry, it's not my go-to plain movie.
Not mine either, but it's just about everybody else's.
I know. And then, of course, the young child actress is
Mason Reeves.
Stunning. A star.
Oh my goodness. And I'm not one that is particularly moved by child performances. Kids acting is never, I'm not always that drawn to it, but Mason Reeves in this film is just such a star. And I thought I had recognized her or seen her in at least something before.
No.
But they casted her almost off the street. Basically, or he was at the director, sorry, she said she was at the grocery store. And she was just she was just running around the store, and so then she found her mom and was can you bring her in to read for this movie, and then she got the part.
That is so cool.
I know. Yeah,
I was wondering how they got that performance out of her because it was kind of giving mysterious skin, in the sense of the child actors in that had a different script. And obviously with Mysterious Skin and Josephine as well, the graphic parts are not shown in the same shot as the reactions. So I think it's cool, however, they were able to protect her but still get an amazing performance with such a complicated subject. And she truly felt her age. I felt that it felt maybe the most accurate child that I've seen in quite a long time. She was I want to play with paper and draw things. She was very 8-year-old girl. It was great.
Yeah, no. Because of what she witnesses, there's this kind of growing fear of men that she has that I think blows up in very shocking ways. Not as shocking, obviously, as the opening moment, but there was there was a scene
Yeah.
where like they were they were decorating a room, we'll say, like as a family. I kind of knew what was coming, but it like I like audibly gasped. Had a feeling that I was like they were going to go there because of how far they had gone already. I was like, this doesn't feel like the kind of film that's going to shy away from these kinds of moments, and it did not. But it's also one of those things where like, you know, I'm not going to say you get it, but like I think with her being 7 or 8 years old, right? 8, I think, you kind of understand how like that, like any kind of small fear like will balloon into like the most, like just the most insane thing. And so I think just the fact that the film doesn't shy away from that, and then it to that point kind of has her actually go through with like so many of the things that she does, I think is just very, very striking from a filmmaking perspective.
Yeah, I love Josephine. I felt like a big theme of Sundance this year was fatherhood. I felt like Josephine was one of 7 films that I saw that really dealt with like complex fatherhood relationships and
Mm-hmm.
navigating that, especially with an only child. It always
Mm,
seemed to be so. That was
yeah.
quite interesting. I'm not going to dive into all 7 of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fatherhood films, but just know that was kind of Sundance's thing this year.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say enjoyed Josephine because it's not like
It's
particularly
enjoyable
like it's enjoyable,
for
but it's
film
not
lovers.
like a it's not something that you'll walk out with like a happy heart. I'll be interested to see how that goes, and then
And of course, like who
how
picks it
it's
up as
marketed
well.
and then received and who picks it up and all that stuff. And also, I think considering that it's won both of these awards and it hasn't gotten picked up yet, I wonder. I mean, I think I know where the hesitation is from the distributor's perspective as far as putting it out, but at the same time, it's an amazing film, and so it's like, you know, you shouldn't be scared to promote, you know, meaningful art. But regardless, Josephine, great film, deserving, I think, at least of the ones that I've seen, of the Dramatic Grand Jury Award. I want to hear about another movie that you saw that I did not get a chance to see.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and focus on films that were premieres in the sense that they are coming out within the next couple months.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna start with Undertone from the Midnight category, which premiered at a festival called Fantasia in the fall. I'm not sure where that is. It might be in like Canada or something. I think this was a Canadian production, but A24 got attached after that and apparently recut it for its premiere at Sundance. And then it will be released, I think, in maybe March or late February. So this was a film about a podcast host that's like, I think it was presented to me as like a podcast host, but then something scary starts happening. That's what kind of the trailers have been giving.
There's trailers for it?
Yeah, and when it premiered at, because I was at the premiere at Sundance,
Uh-huh.
they dropped another trailer, and then
Oh.
if you're an AAA24 subscriber like I am, they sent out a text with like some
Mm,
scary noises
okay.
that was like, "Are you listening?" And I was like, "You can't scare me. I've seen the film." um,
Right.
so I kind of knew ahead of time, or I was told ahead of time that it was gonna be like ghost vibes, and I do not fuck with ghosts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
as you may know, like Lake Mungo, scariest movie I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I went to therapy for it, blah blah blah. Um, so now I know if there's ghosts involved, I have to be an adult enough to make the choice that like, okay, I fucked up. I have to either stare at the ceiling or stare at my feet or close my eyes, no matter what the intensity level is or if it's cheesy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I start seeing it's basically just the main actress, her mom, who is just laying in a bed, Adam DeMarco as a voice,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like the her podcast co-host, but he's never like on screen with her. And then so it's like shots of their entryway, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like dark. So it's like, ooh, the shadows. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? I'll close my eyes. And I'm here to tell you that was an amazing experience. And I thought that it actually should be released as an audio drama because bitch, I could not get away from it. I was like, when there was, I think, things happening on screen, I was
Mm-hmm.
looking over at my friend watching it and I was like, ooh, it looks like they're reacting to something. And then I asked afterwards, and he was like, yeah, no, it's mostly black, just with the scary noises. So take that as you will. Listen to it as a podcast when it drops
Right.
on HBO Max, probably. But no, I thought it was really effective. The sound design was incredible. It's a horror podcast. It's kind of inspired by the director's real life experience with being a caregiver for their aging/dying parent during COVID. And so she's her like day job is she's a pretty successful horror podcast host. Her co-host lives in London, so they have to record at 3 a.m., which is so she's just alone in her house recording this podcast at 3 a.m. with headphones on. They get cold emailed these 10 audio files, and they have to figure out what the mystery is, and it ends up delving into a lot of like hidden messages and children's songs, and it ends up Catholic. So I felt exempt from it, but yeah, if you're into religious things, like, feel free. If they can get you, if Catholicism can get you, then you're not exempt, and undertone might get you. But yeah, I thought it was really effective for what it was. Okay. Definitely worth a watch.
Okay. All right. Shout out to Undertone. There is another movie that we both watched together, part of the US dramatic competition, that I wish I liked more, but still relatively enjoyed: The Musical.
Yes. Forgot we watched that.
Yes, The Musical that you forgot. We did watch it, the first of 4 movies that we watched in a row.
And the day before that, I watched an additional 3 movies with my friend at of Sundance screeners. Yeah. So I was truly thinking, like, what was it? Did we watch something from dramatic competition?
Yeah,
we did.
we did, and it was The Musical. This is a short Sundance comedy produced by and starring Rob Lowe, and I can't remember the main actor's name. He looked like the guy from Dick's the Musical, but I know for a fact that wasn't him, but he looked like him.
His name is Will Brill.
Will Brill.
I don't know what he's known for. I've only seen him in Caught Stealing.
Okay. Regardless, anyway, he's a teacher at a middle school. I can't remember what subject he does, but one of his jobs, and the one that he takes more seriously, is like running the theater program, or co-running it with one of the other teachers who is like his ex-girlfriend,
who's now fucking the principal.
And so then he, in an effort to get back at them, makes some very dramatic changes to their production of West Side Story, and gets the kids in on sticking it to the man and all that stuff. It's kind of like School of Rock-ish, but if it were like a little bit more demented, or like if Dewey Finn had like rage in his heart. That's kind of what it was giving. I wish I liked this movie more than I did, because there are parts that I really liked, and parts that I thought were hilarious, particularly the third act. I don't want to like spoil it in any way, so I'll try not to, but the titular musical is fucking hilarious. And I think everything that has to do with the musical is what makes the movie work. I have to say, I didn't really care too much about the stuff with his girlfriend, or like
his
principal.
Arc.
I didn't care really a lot about his character at all. But everything that had to do with the kids and the kids putting on this musical, I thought was like so fucking funny. Like, we watched it together. I was like, there were parts I was like crying laughing. But it was genuinely only stuff that it was only when like the kids were on stage rehearsing, or like when they eventually perform. It's not a spoiler to say they perform this musical. But it's a strange, quirky Sundance comedy, kind of fitting into the it's not the exact same kind of movie, but the same realm of a Bubble and Squeak, or a not to compare it to Sasquatch Sunset, but kind of filling that same gap, or much more akin to Theater Camp, but I think it's more offbeat than Theater Camp is, and more absurd. And so that's why I feel like it leans more towards those other movies. But yeah, what did you? Well, you forgot that we watched it, so I feel like
yeah. Sorry if that's telling. No, it was kind of similarly, like, he has this whole arc about like trying to make a name for himself professionally as a playwright. So the musical is like an original work that he does, and I just did not care. Like, I was just kind of like, okay, this is fine. I think part of it is that I also saw Run Amok, which was in US Dramatic, and I was just kind of like, I don't know why they picked both of these to be in the competition, because like they're very similar movies. But I found it funny. I don't think like the masses will find it funny.
Yeah.
And I only thought, as you said, like, that the musical was funny. Like, outside that, I was like, these kids are cute.
Yeah.
That's about
And there's
it.
not even they don't even get that much to do in the story
Right.
for real
It kind of
either.
felt like it would have been a good sequel to Joker. Like, it felt like a better version of Joker 2, if that makes sense. Like, if instead of in jail and, like,
He had to
getting killed
become a
by
middle
Connor
school
Story,
teacher.
yeah, like, that was his punishment, which I feel like it is.
Oh
And
my god.
I
That's
mean,
so
you're
funny.
a middle school teacher, you get it.
I
And
That's so funny. Oh my god. Yeah, no.
he has a Joker arc, and I
He
admire
does have a
that.
Joker arc, and it has that kind of the other thing that makes this movie a bit strange is because tonally it's very like it plays like a revenge story, and so like the score and just like kind of the vibe of everything is very like menacing in a way,
Totally.
and that's meant to obviously it playing against this what you're seeing is somebody putting on a middle school production of a play. That obviously is the comedy of it, but at the same time it was just kind of taking me out. I was like, this is gonna sound crazy. He like obviously he's like not a pedophile, but like the tone of the movie like made it seem like he was gonna get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it in no way did I think that was going to happen, and in no way does that happen, but it was just because he always has this like sinister like other plan, and he's always like his eyebrows are always furrowed, and he's like always like looking crazy, and it's just that character
It's like
around a bunch of kids.
it's like, what won't he do to, like,
Right,
mess
right.
things up?
And so I just because he's taking things far, and so like then you start to wonder, it's like, well, how far is it gonna go? And I think you only wonder about it going that far because there's kids involved, and because he's like working at a school, and I guess I'm just more sensitive to that now. But it still, though, outside of that, like I said, everything about the musical part of the story I thought was so funny. The rest of it could have done without. Honestly, I think maybe even could have been a stronger just as a short film, because it's already it's like 80 minutes.
Yeah.
I just think if they tone down and cut out like a lot of the kind of love triangle situation, and just kind of focused it on him putting on this musical, and just kind of it just being like him rehearsing with these kids, like this whole thing, and then them having this like anti-establishment thing, and then I just feel like that could have been a great 40-minute like short, and just left it there. But still fun. I feel like I might have liked it like a little bit more if I saw it like in person.
Oh, totally. Like, if I'd seen that in a theater, like, I would have cracked it. It's like I've run amok at like 3.5 stars, and I'm like, if I'd seen this online, it'd be like 2. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
it's
I
just
feel
different.
like and so with the musical, especially because of those moments that I thought were so funny, I'm like, if I had those moments with an audience, I probably would have given it more than 3 stars. But shout out to the musical, shout out for getting accepted into Sundance. That's the hard part.
I've never done that.
Yes, exactly. Give me another movie that you saw that you either liked or didn't like but want to shout out.
Yeah, so again, something that's coming out end of February, in the blink of an eye, coming out on Hulu. It's the second live action film by Andrew Stanton
Of Finding Nemo fame.
and Wally. Yeah. So
maybe a couple other Pixar ones, but he was one of
big Pixar
Pixar's
guy.
main directors. Yeah.
Yeah, big Pixar guy. He did John Carter as well, for those who care.
I feel like that's a big Piper core movie.
I love that movie.
That like screams Piper.
For those who care, it's me. Like, I was looking at his filmography and I was like, oh, John Carter.
Oh my god.
So this is a movie told in 3 parts. It's a triptych about Neanderthals, people in 2025, and then Kate McKinnon and an AI system in the year, like, it's not that far in the future. I think it might be like in the 2060s.
Okay.
So
it's like Cloud Atlas. Have you seen Cloud Atlas?
No, and everyone's comparing it to Tree of Life.
So like Tree of Life, but Cloud Atlas I think is more.
I haven't seen either of those.
Because it's Cloud Atlas is like a huge like time span. It's like 4 different stories, but it's like the earliest one is like way back, and the latest one is like hundreds of years in the future.
And it's all intercut. It's kind of
and it's same way.
Yeah.
With that.
So it's like you see like as a clip of one thing, or it'd be like montage type. There's this one part where she's using a vibrator, and that transitions into Kate McKinnon getting woken up by an alarm. But I mean, okay, I personally enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. My friend who I saw it with gave it 2.5 stars. She did not fuck with it. We couldn't stay for the Q&A, which was unfortunate because we had to run to Leviticus. which was worthwhile for me. My other two friends I saw it with both gave it 5 stars. They were like, this is an amazing movie. So mixed bag. It'll be on Hulu. So like, I definitely recommend people watch it.
I don't know if you read, it was one of the worst reviewed movies of the festival.
Period.
Its Metascore is like in the red.
You know,
what do you have to say about that?
I think a lot of people who went to the premiere were like, oh, cool. And then I think a lot of people who went to the premiere were like, what is this? I was in one of the like cute groups of people. I liked John Carter. So
Yeah, right.
what does that say about me? I was what, like 8 when that came out? Like, I don't know. I thought it was good. I didn't really care for the futuristic storyline because, again, it was like 40 years into the future and it was way kind of abstract in terms of like how they were like escaping the earth and repopulating and stuff. But I did think it was beautiful how it all tied together. I feel like I kind of saw the vision. Again, you know, it's a great movie to throw on while you're doing laundry or cooking.
Well, it'll be on Hulu, so it'll be on the perfect
Hulu
movie to
in
do that
February 27th. So.
The next movie I want to talk about that we also watched yesterday was a movie that you actually didn't want to watch at first because you were like, I'm not trying to watch a documentary. But also, to your point and to your credit, we did not know until the movie started that it was a documentary, because I think nothing on its page said anything about it being a documentary. And
it was in Next.
And it was in Next. I'm gonna pronounce it Americanly. I do not know how to pronounce this in Spanish, but Jaripeo or probably Jaripeo or something like that. But this is a movie about queer rancheros, queer Mexican cowboys, or a documentary. Very, very reflexive. It's the director of or he co-directed it with somebody, but he kind of is the person filming, and he's the person kind of exploring himself through this story and this kind of showcase of queer Mexican cowboys in the Michoacan area of Mexico. Very interesting movie, I think. Formally a bit unexpected. The first half is pretty conventional, and I think because of that, it was not taking me out, but it wasn't doing a lot to kind of pull me in. But there's a moment, which it was funny, you were actually in the bathroom. You had like gone to use the bathroom, and then you came back and you were like, oh, what happened? Like, what's going on? But there's a moment where it kind of like cuts to this directorial flourish, like out of nowhere, and it's like, you know, silhouettes and smoke and all these like colorful lights, and
of him riding a bull.
He's riding a mechanical bull, and it's like all of this stuff that just kind of came out of nowhere, and then from then on period. Piper just made a Beyonce reference. I don't know if y'all know how much of growth that is. That is growth, okay? No, I'm so gagged. But no, so from that moment on, which I said is about like halfway through, it's a very short film. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes. But from that moment on, it became a very interesting watch.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really, like, from that point forward was very interested in it. I try to avoid docs, especially at Sundance, because that's just not why I'm there, what I'm interested in. Docs are amazing. Docs at Sundance are very important, not my personal thing. I did think it was very interesting to explore like this subculture, specifically this queer subculture that doesn't get a lot of attention. I loved when it, you know, as you said, like in Soul Patrol, how there were like reenactments. When a documentary has reenactments, I think this was kind of their version of that, where they were like, at one point they're in a cornfield, like, and there's strobe lights. I was like, this is kind of the moment core.
A little bit.
I haven't seen the moment, but
yeah. Well, I'll let you know.
This is kind of brat core. I really liked the scene where was it the director? Or you know what I'm talking about, where they were discussing what they find attractive.
Yeah. It was the director, and
was the director the buff one?
No,
he was not the buff. Okay,
no.
So the director talking to this guy who is very, very buff, kind of like more of a bear type. Yeah, would you say?
Just more macho generally, and just kind of
that's your subculture, not mine.
Inherent, like. Just machismo is like his kind of
totally like vibe. He had a thick beard and everything, and they were talking about like, oh, do you not find like twinks attractive? Pretty much,
basically. Yeah.
They didn't say the word twink, but like, you know, you don't find twinks attractive, and he's like, no, like I love masculinity, in others and in myself. And the director kept trying to get him to be like, "What, you don't think they're sexy? But why? Is that because like you have internalized homo?" And he's like, "No, I just think like buff guys are hot."
Right.
And he's had to keep just saying that in different ways. And I loved it. And I felt like it really made me like, it made me think about my own sexuality, because it's like, yeah, I like femininity in myself and in others. That's that. So it was nice to hear him say that and then defend himself for like
and
5
not in a
straight
way
minutes.
to put
In
anybody
no
else
disrespectful
down.
way. He
Yeah,
was like,
no.
I hope they're having a great time. However, like, I
Right.
want to hold hands. Because he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to hold hands with a guy. Like, I just
Yeah.
want to be seen with like a really hot guy.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's like, I
so
want
true.
abs and a beard. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, that's
I have
what-
abs and a beard. I love myself.
Yeah,
you know.
which, you know, is very interestingly representative of like a whole nother aspect of just like queerness. And especially even you think about like gays in LA and just how like, you know, they're so in love with themselves. It's like, but almost in a narcissistic way.
Yeah, girl,
But it's not.
I go to Equinox.
But it's different in this film. There's a much different kind of acceptance with it. Even scenes where they look at like there's this older woman that there's a scene of her like, you know, getting dressed, and she's like talking about like how she kind of goes to these bullfights and like, you know, kind of plays this character, and how it's like, you know, it's very comfortable for her, and it's like it's the world that she chooses to live in. She's like, some people don't like it, and so she's like, I have to, you know, kind of suss it out at that point, but it's like this is how it is, and it's just like kind of integrated, and it's just like a part of this culture, of this society. And I just thought that was very interesting, and something that just hadn't been explored in any way, at least as far as something that I've seen.
So speaking of documentaries,
Yes,
my favorite one that I saw at the festival, I saw 3 at the festival, but my favorite one was called Nuisance Bear, which I think you'll definitely be hearing about in the awards conversation.
it won one of the Sundance Awards. It might have
jury.
gotten grand jury for the documentary category. I'll look it up.
Sense.
But
so, and as interestingly was with a lot of things I saw, it's based off a short that was at Sundance. Or at least their short, I think, got Oscar nominated. And the directors got engaged and married within 5 minutes on Main Street also, which, like, so congrats to them.
Yes, it won the grand jury prize for a documentary.
Yeah, this film was interesting because it followed a subject that was a specific polar bear, kind of in the north of Canada. And at one point, like, this bear is in a bit of peril, and I jumped like it was a jump scare. Like, I was like, and like
Really?
hands to my face, like I was so sutured into caring about this bear. And you see it basically, you know, they live with the polar bears up there, but the bears have to be able to kind of fend for themselves and be separate from humans. So the concept of a nuisance bear is a bear that it causes trouble to the human community because it comes in and it's looking for food. And it was so sad because this bear was just hungry. Like, basically was separated from like a pack, and it was hungry. So it figured out how to like open fences, dig through trash and everything. And so that's why they were kind of watching it and attempting to trap it. It got put in jail for being hungry. It was terrible.
Yeah. To just fact check earlier, it is based on a short film of the same title that was shortlisted for the Oscars like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
There's 2 co-directors.
Who are now married.
Yeah, who are now married. The guy, I think it's his short film, and then they were co-directors for the feature. Yeah. But yes, okay.
So but very powerful. Yeah, definitely think like everyone will have to see it if you're a completionist for the Oscars in 2027.
Yeah, you know, that one sounded interesting to me as well. The next movie I want to talk about is Extra Geography. This was a movie that was in the World Cinema Dramatic category from the UK. Do you want to take the lead on?
Oh my god, I'd love to,
Geography?
Andrew. So I heard this was Lady Bird core. I would compare it, you know, Heated Rivalry did come out like a month ago, right? So everyone and their mom, whenever there's anything with like queer characters, they're like, this is Heated Rivalry core.
Right.
I really felt that this was a bit more Heated Rivalry core than like Leviticus got like the one of the main headlines for it is Heated Rivalry meets It Follows. I didn't feel that that was Heated Rivalry core. This one though, like you know when in Heated Rivalry, what they're like presenting the award together or something, and they like touch feet. They do that. That is the first scene of these two girls together in Extra Geography. I told Andrew, I was like, this feels like the movie that like one of these actresses at least is gonna become someone pretty big later on, and everyone's gonna be like, I can't believe she was in that random festival lesbian movie. Like it felt like such a hidden gem. But yeah, basically it's these two girls. It was kind of ambiguous on we never saw them like discovering whether they were queer. And I felt like that was actually really refreshing. Like these were two queer girls, best friends, like very homoerotic friendship. Like if you are a girl and you're listening, gay or not, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That homoerotic friendship. And they decide like we're gonna pick someone to have a crush on. Walk into the lunchroom, eyes closed. They look up at each other first, mind you. We were gagged. Then they look and they both see their teacher, who is a woman, their geography teacher, who is a woman, seemingly gay. And they basically just try to seduce her throughout the semester.
But then at the same time, there's a play. They're doing Midsummer Night's Dream
with boys,
and there's boys that have come into the equation.
All girls boarding school, so that's why this is notable.
Yes, and so now there's then the growing divide between them because like one of them has a better part, and so she's like with a boy more often than the other one is, and then you know she's kind of having to grapple with like, am I mad at her because of she's hanging out with the boy? Am I mad because she's not hanging out with me? You know, and then it's very interesting, but like you said, to the point of them not outrightly saying anything about whether or not they're queer. It's just kind of like how they behave.
Totally, because we were never like, oh, is she gay? Is she not gay? Like they were both queer. They both knew that they were queer, even though it was never discussed. And at different points, it was like, oh, she's, again, never stated. It was just through the direction and performances. It was like, oh, now she's interested in her friend. And that's why she showed it changed at times. Like, and now she's not interested. Now she is interested. It was very heartfelt. That's one that I would like to watch again. Again, shout out Sundance, making me long for homoerotic friendship.
Yeah,
if you're listening, hit me up.
That was my review. I was like, homoerotic friendships, you can't live with them. You can't live without them. I'm like, that I think is the core of this movie.
Literally had a yearn off. Like it was crazy.
They did. Oh my god. And then like it was like when one of them would fall off, the other one would be like, why are like
they were both trying to make each other jealous.
That's what I'm like in that the questions surrounding like whether or not they were, I think is what makes it such a fun experience.
Go see it with your homoerotic best friend.
No, yeah, that was a fun one. Give me another movie that you saw.
Okay, so I saw Ha-chan Shake Your Booty, which was in US Dramatic Competition. I believe it won the directing award.
It did.
It won the directing award. This one I was quite shocked by. So it follows a ballroom dancer. It's set in Tokyo, and her partner, who is from Mexico City, dies very suddenly of a heart attack in the opening scene. And so it's about her coping with that grief. And then this new like salsa instructor comes, who is also like Mexican, and she's like, and he's in an open marriage, so she makes it her mission to like get with him. Really, really well done. It had a lot of like elongated dance sequences, like fantasy dance sequences. I was like, gosh, I wish like my film school professors could have seen this. At one point, they go to a Dirty Dancing stage play. It's like a stage reenactment of it's just Dirty Dancing. It's in Japanese, so she takes like her teacher who doesn't speak it, and he's like, how will I know what's going on? And then he sees like them carrying the watermelons, and he's like, oh, Dirty Dancing. It was really, really cute. Like I was so locked in, so glad I saw it.
Yeah, no, that was one that I almost bought a ticket to, like after I saw it won the directing award, because I was almost gonna buy a ticket initially, and then I opted for something else, but then I saw it won directing. I was like,
well, Good news, it got acquired by Sony Picture Classics.
Okay, all right, that's good. I had not heard this.
As did Bedford Park.
Okay, all
So
right.
both those were in competition and did, and I feel like it makes sense for both of
Okay.
them. They're kind of more like romantic themed films.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of romance, Chasing Summer is another Sundance comedy that both of us saw at different times. But Chasing Summer is the new film from the director of Madeline's Madeline. If anybody's ever heard of that, that was an indie feature that came out in 2018. It was the movie past summer. I remember I didn't see it in theaters, but I have seen it since then. It's good, little off kilter, but it's an interesting film. This movie is starring and written by Eliza Schlesinger, the stand-up comedian, and like I said, it stars her as this woman. I can't remember her character's name, but she's like a natural disaster relief worker.
Her name is Jamie.
Her name is Jamie, yes. And she doesn't lose her job, but circumstances arise that you make it so that she has to go home for like a month or so before her next job. And so, you know, it's like one of those movies, like her life is kind of in shambles and she goes back home and then she meets like gets rekindled with her ex-boyfriend, and but there's a new guy, and you know, it's one of, I feel that it's a story formula that we've kind of seen and been used to, and I think especially in the Sundance realm, they kind of always have a movie that's kind of like this. But and so for that reason, I don't think it's any doesn't necessarily add anything new to that genre or to that kind of movie. But I honestly pretty enjoyed it. This was the first movie of all the movies that I watched for Sundance this year, and I found myself laughing pretty consistently. I'm not usually a fan of Eliza's stand up. I used to watch a lot of stand up when I was younger. And I remember she was one of the few that just never really clicked with me. And that kind of stayed true since then. And so because of that, I was kind of surprised at how much I was enjoying this movie while I was watching it. I think part of my enjoyment of the movie is because there's a pretty big plot twist later on that we cannot spoil, but that I did not see coming whatsoever. I
didn't either. We were so gagged.
I read a bunch of reviews and everyone was like, it was so predictable. And I was like, maybe I need to keep my mouth shut or maybe I'm not watching movies right, because I did not see that coming whatsoever. I was like in my bed watching it, and I sat up. I sat up so fast when the reveal happened. And so, you know, I think effective on that level. And then just like, you know, just a sweet kind of like coming of age story. You know, just at 40, I think people were joking. They're like, it's the summer I turned 40. This movie, which, you know, kind of true, but a fun time, I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely very Hallmark movie-esque. Like,
yes,
girl returns home. Like, there's a whole thing about like, oh, her hometown friends live there, or not even friends, people she went to high school with.
Yeah,
everyone still lives there except for her.
Yeah,
so
because she's been gone for like 20 years.
It kind of reminded me of Sweet Home Alabama in that sense. Yeah, again, I liked it. It was a nice, easy-going flick. Lola Tongue was in it.
Yes.
Playing essentially Belly Conklin.
Yeah. Another reason why people are calling it the summer I turned 40.
Right. And because it has summer in the title, she can't escape that.
She can't. No.
She never will. Yeah, great watch, even if just for Lola Tongue. And I mean, Rain Spencer was also at Sundance, which is notable. For those who care. For the summer I turned pretty fandom.
Yes. So shout out to Chasing Summer, fun little Sundance comedy. Give me another movie.
Oh, not a fun little Sundance Well, no, it is. It's called See You When I See You, directed by J. Duplass.
I heard of this.
Yes, I heard of this.
I heard about this. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, I thought it was how you said it. So this has Cooper Raiff.
My fave, yes. Rife. It's either Rife or Rafe. I've been saying Rafe, but then I heard him say it differently. And so now I don't know what's true.
And I can't do that. So for this podcast, this
all
is
I know,
Cooper
I
Raiff.
love him.
All I know is I love him
as a writer, and I love his movies.
And Caitlin Dever.
And Helen Harper, TV show or movie. Shout out.
I haven't seen that yet. But
you should watch.
Cooper Raiff,
Caitlin Dever.
But she has an and credit. I will warn people.
Oh, okay.
The guy from X-Files?
David Duchovny?
Yeah. Some other people.
Okay.
Hold on.
It's an ensemble comedy.
It's an ensemble of family comedy about Cooper Raiff loses a sister.
Mm-hmm.
She's dead before the events of the movie, who was played by Caitlin Dever, to suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's them kind of reckoning with that, especially him because he was really close with her, but he
Mm-hmm.
also discovered her body. I think they may have lived together. And so, anyway, it's just about him trying to figure out like how to put his life back together after that. So it really deals with PTSD, the trauma associated with that. He does like, is it called EDMR therapy? EMDR. You know what I'm talking about?
EMDR, yeah.
EMDR, where he goes to like PTSD therapy to
Yeah.
recover. I thought it was really funny, but also just really heartfelt. And I thought it was a really good way to like honor. It's based off a true story too, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like based off a memoir.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Rafe is always amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
laughed, I cried, I cared, as I said for Dee. So yeah, whenever that comes out, I think people should definitely go see it. And Caitlin Dever was amazing, as she was really only in like flashback scenes, but
Mm-hmm.
she always gets me. And what was interesting is at the beginning they were like, no one knows who Cooper Rafe is unless you're like a Sundance fan. And like my friends who this is like their first Sundance, they were like, that was a nobody. And I'm like, actually he won the grand jury award.
Right. Literally, he won the, I think, grand jury and like audience, and then
In
like he's
2020.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then the at South by too. Like he's a festival fave.
Cha-Cha Real Smooth,
Cha-Cha Real
which was my
Smooth.
first ever Sundance watch ever.
Really?
In terms of like watching something.
You know,
at the
I didn't watch
festival.
that movie at Sundance. That was one of the ones that I missed that year because that was a virtual one, but that was
Yeah.
one of the few that I didn't watch. And then it won, and then I watched it later that year, and it
What?
immediately became. It won the audience award
makes sense.
that year, and then I watched it when it came out in like the summer, and it like immediately became. Actually, no,
It just really stuck.
it came out in the summer, and I watched it real late that year, but it
Yeah.
immediately became one of my favorite movies that year. I loved Cha-Cha Real Smooth.
Yeah.
Shithouse is so good too.
I love him. So to see him, I mean, like even acting is great.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right. See you when I see you.
Yeah.
Shout out to that.
Can't wait for you guys to find out what context that quote is set in.
The next movie I want to talk about is a movie that neither of us like. This is probably going to be the well, I don't know what other movies you have picked out, but I'll say probably the most negative review that I'm going to be giving on this podcast today.
Yeah, I didn't pick negatives.
Okay, all right. Is a movie called Burn.
Which, for context, my roommate and her boyfriend watched about an hour ago and both gave 5 stars.
This movie it eschews a few different kinds of found family stories, but it's basically about this teenage but like late teenage age girl who like runs away from home because she has a violent family situation, and she leaves like her sister with like her mother, I believe. But so then she runs away and then finds a home in this kind of ragtag group of people that like live on the streets in this like plaza area of, I think, is it Tokyo as well? Or I know it's a Japanese film, but I can't remember if it's Tokyo specifically.
Kabuki Cho.
Okay, Kabukicho. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So anyway, she like befriends this like, and it's a wide range of people. It's like from children to like elderly people, and they're all kind of there for different reasons, and they all have their own kind of tragic backstories. But it's like I said, it's kind of meant to be a found family story. So ultimately, there's meant to be this kind of like an uplifting, somewhat like hopeful sense there. But it's just, I don't know. It was just like trauma film on every level for me. And I think we also both were just misguided in what we thought we were going to watch because we had heard that it was like akin to Euphoria. And I think only because of, you remarked only because of the color palette is why, because it's very, very bisexual with its coloring. But that is probably the only, and also the fact that she's the main character as a teenager. I think those are probably the only things that would equate it to that. No, it just felt very odd. I don't know. I couldn't really connect to too much of it, but also like a lot of the humor in it is very dark, but to the point where like where you almost can't tell it's like humor at some points. There were some moments where we were watching and there were times where you were like, that's crazy. And you're like, yeah, that's like crazy. And usually I can like, suss out when like if that's the tone of the writing, and it's like, it's meant to kind of be that kind of subversive thing. But every time it like went there, it always felt like almost like exploitative in a way. I don't know. It was an odd one. It was an odd one.
It would have done numbers on 2014 Tumblr. There's this
Yeah.
one character whose name is Riss, Wris,
Mhm.
because he has literally like
100
the texture of his skin is all from cuts that have healed.
uh-huh.
Like it's literally bumpy.
Yeah.
And they draw like there's a mechanic about them drawing things on top of the screen, kind of like it's like a DS, like how you'd paint on pictures in a it felt like a DS to me.
Yeah.
And so they drew like a ladder over it, and
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, I thought that we left that behind.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Kind of
no.
Hannah Baker core.
A little bit. Yeah, it was a little it was just odd in those ways. And then talking very, very frankly about like sexual assault, but again in a way that was like making light of it in a way that just
In a
didn't
post
work.
Josephine Sundance.
Right, exactly. And I mean, and I watched this before I saw Josephine, but I'm sure if I had seen Josephine before watching that, I even more so would have been like, again, just crazy that they were programmed next to each other, different categories.
Yeah,
but
it was a next.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
a very, very next, very nothing burger film.
Yeah,
I don't really care.
Yeah, no, I think we both were like
we were tapped out, and we still watched one more movie after it that we liked better.
Yeah, I think we both had said something about like a lot of the films in the next category. Some are either like genuinely like innovative and like things that like you haven't seen before, or they just like tilt the camera a little bit and like throw some neon colors in there and say that it's like an edgy like innovative aesthetic.
Being in the same category as Z. Oh my god. Like Z runs circles, runs marathons around Burn. It was crazy.
Yeah, no. Unfortunate, but again, a miracle that it was made and got selected for Sundance. So shout out to the film team
guys.
for that.
I've never done that.
Give me one more Piper movie. Not one more, but another Piper movie.
All right. So I'm going to save the best for last. So this is not that, but a Union County, which was also in the U.S. Dramatic Competition.
Starring Will Poulter.
You know who else it stars?
No.
Well, it's produced and starring Noah Centineo.
I think I did hear that, actually.
Okay, and when he came on, he was really good. Don't get me wrong. When he came on, I was just really gagged because like I did not think he was going to be there. I was like, Noah, what are you doing here? EP'd as well, which was great. Wow. So what was really cool about this is that only them and maybe like the love interest were actors. Mm-hmm. Everyone else was like a member of the community. So basically this is set in Ohio. It's about the opioid epidemic and specifically about a court recovery program where they, I believe, go to weekly meetings. They have to have a job, the court will help them get a place to live. Basically, they have weekly check-ins in front of like a group of people and a judge to be like, what do you need? Like, how are you doing? They're taking drug tests and it's a very strict program. So it follows Will Poulter's character, who is new to the program, Noah Centineo's character, who is his foster brother, but has been in and out of the program for longer. And what's really cool is that it starts with you see them doing their check-ins. And so everyone else doing the check-ins and in any of the group meetings are all real participants of the program. And so the first couple you see are like real people, and then Will Poulter comes up and he does his, and he's there in the background the whole time, like in character listening. And then Noah comes up, and so it was really wonderful to see the actual stories. And so there's another main character named Annette, and she is kind of the drug counselor. So there's a judge, and then she's like the woman who like kind of oversees the program. And so this is another film that like came from a short film. It may have been a Sundance short film, not 100% sure, but she was phenomenal in it. So then being at the premiere and afterwards, they're like, Noah and Will are pretty much our only two actors. I was so gagged because she gave an amazing performance. At one point, there's like a tragic situation, and she has this line where she's like, I've learned throughout all my years that it's not your fault, it's not his fault, it's not my fault. And I haven't stopped thinking about that. So yeah, apparently she got a theater degree in undergrad and then went into drug work. And so when they filmed the short, because this is like fiction, they were like, wow, you're really good. And she's like, yeah, I have a theater background. And so they were like, okay, we're elevating your role. So it was cool to think about all the people out there who have like theater degrees who are like undercover working like normal jobs now, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let them play themselves, you know, because
Right.
it was very compelling. I
Mm-hmm.
loved the neorealist aspect of it, and the performances by both Will, Noah, and everyone else involved were absolutely amazing.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, no, I think after I read your review, that one, like, that was put on my radar. Um for sure. And I think part of me was thinking that that one seemed like it might have won at least like maybe the big one. Just based off of like when I was looking
Yeah,
at all of
vibes
them.
wise, I thought it would do better. I don't know if it did get
Yeah,
anything,
it
but
didn't. It
yeah.
didn't.
But I definitely I think it'll come out.
Okay.
It feels like
All
it
right.
will.
Okay. All right. Speaking of Ohio, the last movie that we're going to talk about that we both saw together, or that we both have seen, another movie that I unfortunately didn't care for as much, and which is interesting considering it was like one of the few that was sold out online like completely before the festival started, or before the festival started. I was able to get a ticket for it. But Carousel, this movie was in competition. It is a romantic drama starring Chris Pine and Jenny Slate. About Chris Pine has a daughter who is like does really well in school, but she kind of like overexerts herself and just doesn't handle it the best when things don't necessarily go her way as far as like finishing something right or on time or in right fashion, whichever. But she decides that she wants to start doing debate and join the debate team at her high school. And this is surprising to him, but he then, for a multitude of reasons, but he later finds out, which is, most surprising reason, that the debate coach is his ex-girlfriend from, I think, high school.
Yeah.
Uh,
Who is Jenny Slate?
who is Jenny Slate. And so, and that, they both like live in the same town again, and that their paths are crossing again. And so then the story becomes about the two of them kind of reconnecting and reconciling with, just everything that happened between them. A lot of long scenes between the two of them kind of going back and forth that I think are composed well, but are in no way interesting. I think this movie is very well shot, but that's mostly it. I didn't really care for the relationship between the two of them. I thought that Chris Pine's performance was really good, and it's probably the
Totally.
strongest that I've seen him, just because like I can't remember the last time I've seen him in something like live action. I watched Rise of the Guardians twice this past December, but but I can't remember too much live action stuff outside of like Star Trek, and that one he did a Disney musical, Into the Woods.
Yeah.
But and another dad movie also, to your point earlier.
Yeah, that
you're
was one of the
talking
7 I
about
was counting was Carousel.
But I just thought this movie was so boring. I wasn't really drawn into much of it at all. To be honest, I watched it kind of late, not like crazy late, but it was at the end of my day, and I made it all the way through. But boy, was I struggling! Boy, was I struggling! I kept pausing it to like check the time, and see how much time was left. And I was like, oh my god, there's still 45 minutes of it. But what were your thoughts on Carousel? I think we share similar.
This was a slog. My Letterboxd review was like, this is as interesting as like most interesting day in Ohio. Oh my god. And another, as I said, like the Sundance log lines, so misleading. Like the one for this is like a father has a carefully constructed life that gets dismantled because of his daughter's debate ambitions. What? Like
I know.
who is writing
I thought it was gonna
these?
be like like parent getting like overly involved in like
Yeah,
the school,
they
and like
had no chemistry. I didn't give a fuck about their relationship. And but again, Chris Pine, maybe the best I've ever seen him. I was blown away by that. But yeah, the only parts that like are memorable to me kind of are the points where there was like 2 really long scenes where they were fighting that I thought were really well blocked. Like very well directed, but
Yeah.
also just like Chris Pine was amazing. Jenny Slate was also in the movie.
Yes.
She wasn't bad. It was just like
Yeah,
Chris Pine was eating
there.
her up.
Right
So if
there.
you're like a big Chris Pine stan, it does have DILF Chris Pine, which was
Yes.
like He fucks
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
lot
Yeah,
in
I do have
it.
to say.
He looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
No, he does. He does.
yeah.
But no, yeah, I was thinking to myself while watching,
Boring.
I was like, something just sits off with me about like white love stories set to jazz. Like I'm like, this just isn't this just isn't right. And I think one of the pieces of music was like maybe Chet Baker or something, and I'm like, I guess, like using white jazz musicians is like, like a pass, but at the same time, I don't know, I'm just like, okay,
Yeah. It
like
was fine.
jazz is the music of love, but I'm just like, every time or at least in my head, it's the music of love, but every time I hear it, it's like I don't see Chris Pine and Jimmy Slade.
Right.
Yeah, like two band-aids.
And
no
she
shade.
was kind of giving Marcel the shell in terms of voice. She's the voice of Marcel, right?
She is.
Yeah. No, there were just sometimes where I remembered that during the film. You are that.
You are Marcel.
You are Marcel.
Well, I mean,
What a
I
movie.
love Marcellus Show with shoes on, but yeah, there's not much really to say about Carousel. Kind of a
We
nothing
said it. I
burger.
think we talked too much about it.
More than I thought.
And mind you, that was my last ever Sundance movie in Park City.
I would have hated for my last one to be a bad movie. Like, oh my god.
At least it was fine. So my
Yeah.
one before that was called Night Nurse. That's not what I'm choosing right now, but it was called Night Nurse and it was horrible. Congrats to getting into Sundance. I haven't done that. I think it should give everyone confidence that like you can make something of yourself if you do it. If you just put it together, it'll probably get into Sundance.
Okay. All right. Give me.
So yeah, I would have been more pissed if that were my last one. And so that was my last midnight. My second to last midnight was called Mom, I'm Alien Pregnant.
Yes.
And oh boy, what a movie that was. So some of my friends went to the premiere, which was on the second night of the festival, and had been hyping it up like crazy. I saw it like 4 or 5 days after they did. A lot of anticipation for it. On Main Street, they had the alien baby stroller that you could just like see. So we went and we were like, oh, it's him. They had like these neon beanies that they were giving out to people ask a question. My friend wore one the whole time. So yeah, I was excited. All that to say, this movie is fucking nuts. And so it's all practical effects.
Oh wow.
And prosthetics and everything, which is really cool because so basically it's this kind of like loser girl in her mid to late 20s in New Zealand, and she is into like tentacle porn. Like this is in the midnight category, by the way. She like goons to she goons to tentacle porn. Her mom is trying to get her to make friends. She finds out that there's this new family who moved in who also has a mid to late 20-year-old boy who's a loser. They meet in the laundry room while she is gooning in the laundry room. She's like, my mom said that your dick is weird. And because that's what his mom said is he's like, he's shy because he has like a abnormality. And abnormality is because his mom was like impregnated by aliens.
Okay.
And so how that manifested with the Punnett Square is that his penis is alien, nothing else. But it's a crazy design. Like it kind of looks like a vagina, and then you gotta kind of like rub it to like get it out. And it instead of balls, it's like he has like it's like tentacles. And
oh my god.
It's cooler than you can picture.
Okay.
And so, and mind you, again, all practical effects. Like I think it might be an animatronic situation or something. Oh wow. And so they're in the laundry room. This first 5 minutes of the movie. Again, she's gooning when he walks in on her, and she's like, I want to see it because she's a freak. And so then she's like, can you touch, like they start mutually masturbating. He comes and shoots, it's like acid. And so she has like her pants on and they're like maybe 10 feet away from each other. It the heat sensitive missile finds her and burns through her pants and like impregnates her. And because the movie's 90 minutes, this all takes place within like 2 or 3 days. But she has like a whole alien pregnancy.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
It's graphic, it's wild, it's crazy, it's really, really funny. I want to see more from the actors in it.
Oh my god.
I hope that someone gets to see it. I don't know if anyone ever will, except for the Sundance Killers. But
what country is it from?
New Zealand.
Oh, you said. Okay.
Yeah, shout out Oceania for Sundance this year. Mama Million Pregnant, Leviticus. This one I saw from New Zealand called Big Girls Don't Cry, which was in a world dramatic competition. It was pretty good. And then my roommate saw this one called Saccharine that was in Midnight from Australia. So they really dominated this year.
Showed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For fans of my appearance on Sundance podcast, I saw this movie I really liked last year called Touch Me, and it was
I was
very similar to Touch Me. And Touch Me, I don't think went anywhere because like who's gonna buy live action hentai? No one. Right. So it's kind of, I think it might be in that realm, but like, okay, if only.
Well, hopefully
a girl
not.
Can
hopefully
dream.
Not. Maybe, hopefully, like Mubi will pick it up.
Sony Pictures Classics, if you're hearing me.
Snatch it up.
Magnolia Pictures, if you're hearing me.
IFC
That's
Films.
Who bought Thelma, right?
Yeah. Oh my god. So the last movie that I want to talk about on this episode is the movie that I mentioned earlier that neither of us saw at Sundance, but it premiered on night 2, and I heard that like tickets for it were selling for like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, there was a whole resale market. You know, there's like the Reddit thread where people are buying and selling, and people were like $300 for my The Moment ticket. Same thing with all the movies she was in. Crazy resale market.
Yeah, no, ridiculous. But I did get a chance to see The Moment, the new Charli XCX starring A24 feature written and directed by Aiden Zamiri, who's a first-time feature director, but a long-time collaborator of Charli XCX. He directed, I believe, all of the music videos for the Brat era. So like 365 and
Guess featuring Billie Eilish.
Yes. Amongst others. I don't know if there's like videos for all of them, but there's at least like 3 or 4.
The Party for You music video came out kind of recently. That wasn't on Brat. Yeah, but it came out within the last year.
Yeah. But so anyway, so he's her music video director, and so but he wrote and directed this feature about Charli XCX and Brat Summer. But one of my issues, it's more about Brat and less about Charli. But in the film, we meet Charli like right before her like national like Brat, or not national, her like international Brat tour starts, and she's like in the middle of rehearsals, and her like label like wants her to do a concert film, and so they hire this director played by Alexander Skarsgård who doesn't understand like what Brat is and is like trying to like, you know, change things, whichever. And so then it leads to Charli kind of having this internal battle of like, you know, how long do you hold on? Do I hold on to Brat? Like, is this, you know, can it last for a long time? Did I mean it to last for a long time? Is it becoming over commercialized? Am I getting lost in, you know, the money of it all? Is like, you know, the art getting compromised? I think it's an interesting topic that isn't explored as much as it should be in the film. It feels a bit uneven as a whole to me. The film is honestly not very music heavy, which I wasn't really expecting. I don't mind that it's not. That's not an inherent problem that I have with like, you know, films like this. But I will say that I think more music might have helped. I myself am not a big Charli XCX. I'm not like a super fan. I don't have anything against her. I think her vibe is great. Her music is not something that I usually go to. I follow her on Letterboxd, like, you know, and I like add stuff to my watch list from, you know, her stuff. So, you know, I'm on the, you know, the thing. Very interesting to me that she had 3 movies premiering at Sundance, or she was a part of 3 movies premiering at Sundance this year. And she's like, I don't think she's ever had anything at Sundance before. She's like only just started acting.
Yeah,
like,
I think it's a testament to like her representation, but also I think it's really cool of her. Like I saw people online being like, oh no, the last Sundance in Park City and like the Robert Redford tribute one got kind of tainted by XCX dance, and it's like, no, like she really promoted the hell out of Sundance.
Yeah, I think it's great that she was like putting kind of Sundance on the special, and honestly,
she clearly cares a lot for indie films.
Yeah, and a lot of her I remember the concert. I don't know if it was a specific one or it might have been like the end of the tour when she was like, you know, it was like Joaquin Trier Summer. And
that was her Coachella performance last year.
Yeah. And she was like kind of shouting out like all like the names of like all these directors, and then like she has been very much like a lot of her online presence has been related to films and like, you know, artists. She was just in the Criterion Closet, I saw. And so I think that is very interesting. And I think that she is good in this movie too. I think a lot of my issues mostly just come from the script and the way that it's written. I just feel like it's a lot emptier than it thinks it is. It feels like a first feature in a lot of ways. From a directorial perspective, though, I think it's a lot more successful because, like I said, he is a music video director, and music videos are primarily, you know, visual. I mean, obviously the music, but like, you know, when it comes to the direction, it's like you're directing the visuals mostly because there's not, or at least now, music videos aren't really story driven. And so, you know, I think in that, you know, he does kind of adopt and keep the same or a similar aesthetic to, you know, the music videos that he's done. And like, you know, the opening sequence of the film is basically like a music video like shoot, but like it's you see the music video and then it like, you know, cuts, they're like cut, it's like one of those kinds of things. And so like, you know, throughout, and like the way that they do like the location like supers, you know, is real, like everything's like, you know, flashing and all these colors and like all these different, like it'll pull up like the location hours of the restaurant that they're like going to, or like, you know, the like logo. It's hard to describe, but once you see it, it's like all these like blink and you'll miss it kind of things that I think, these like little editing flourishes and directorial flourishes that I think do add to the experience of watching the film. I enjoyed my experience watching it. I think that a lot of the smaller characters that Charli finds herself interacting with throughout the story are very interesting, and I think in some ways are like the more interesting part of the story. Like not all of them are cameos, quote unquote, because I mean like Kylie Jenner obviously is like a cameo, and then like, you know, Rachel Sennott, I guess, but also they were both announced as cast members, so it's like harder to. But outside of them, though, there's a lot of just minor characters that she interacts with along this journey. This like kind of, it's like it's set over the 1 month before. So the timeline of the film is a month, but it's set over like the 1 month before the tour is supposed to start. And so, you know, I thought a lot of those scenes were really great and added a lot of color to the story. And also the woman who plays her manager, Haley Benton Gates, she I thought was great, and I honestly thought that she and Charli had like great chemistry, and there was like a little bit of a sapphic thing going there, like not really, but like I just kind of like felt that vibe.
Can't wait.
And so, you know, I thought that was cool. It has its moments. I wish that more of the humor landed for me. I didn't respond that well to all of the jokes. And honestly, my audience didn't too much either. There weren't a lot of like, you know, huge laughs. There were moments that I could tell were meant to be laughs, but they just didn't click for those moments. But there were the Charli stands in my audience that were like, you know, cheering and whooping like when she would do like, you know, monologues or whatever. So
let me tell you, my coworker, biggest fan, and he got like was waiting for AMC to drop tickets like it was the tour itself. And then he was like, they dropped it without announcing it. I'm like, brother.
My goodness. But no, I think if you're a Charli fan, you're gonna love it. If you're not a Charli fan, you might just be a little bit more mid on it. I wish there was more drawing me to it, because again, like I said at the top of this, it feels more like a movie about Brat than a movie about Charli. Like I don't really feel like I got any more insights into who Charli is as an artist or a person. I know that she's playing kind of a different version of herself, but I still feel like there was an opportunity to kind of learn a bit more about her. And I just don't think we necessarily got that. We got a lot about how she feels about the success of her album, but I feel like in that sense, there wasn't a lot to kind of draw in people that don't already like know her and fuck with her. And so I thought it was cool. Definitely felt like a first feature with all the good, for better or for worse. But, you know, yeah, I'd say in my letterbox review, I said I'm not a 365 party girl, but I can rock with this. I can rock with it up to a point.
Awesome. Well, I'm quite excited. I'm seeing it on Tuesday at the Grove, which I'm sure will be a good crowd.
Yes. I saw it at Burbank, and
That's probably why.
It was sold out, and I was actually pretty lucky that I got tickets to that screening, because a lot of it was sold out, but I ended up like 7:00 at Burbank Thursday night. And so I was like kind of expecting more of a raucous crowd. because of that. And that wasn't the case. And I think part of it is because it's just not that kind of movie. But I think the way that they've been promoting the movie and just like what I think people would think about the movie, you'd think it's that kind of movie, and it's not really, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it might have helped get people more into it, because it's like, they're going thinking they're watching like Charli XCX movie, and it is a Charli XCX movie, but it's like it's a movie that Charli XCX is in. And so it's like it's just a different kind of expectation you have to set up for. But yeah, 6 out of 10, 3 out of 5, decent. But okay, that is the end of our Sundance discussion. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Piper, so much for being here.
Of course, see you next year.
Well, yes, you'll hopefully you'll be on sooner. But yes, thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at OTR with Andrew. If you'd like to follow the podcast on Twitter, you can follow it at the OTR Andrew Pod. Also, new starting this year, I now have a YouTube channel. So the podcast will now be available on YouTube, along with the full video interviews that I've done this season and last award season, most recently for Marty Supreme and the Smashing Machine. So go check that out. That's at the OTR Andrew Pod as well. And my letterboxd is AndyMike1209. It's ANDYMIKE1209. Piper, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, my letterboxd is Pied Piper 5, Yellow Jacket's profile picture. Please go check out my Sundance reviews.
Period. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.